Well, as Israel continues with some of the fiercest fighting in months in northern Gaza, Israeli tanks have reached some residential areas of Rafah in the south. Hundreds of thousands of civilians have fled the city ahead of a threatened ground offensive. Israel's allies have repeatedly warned against a major assault on Rafah, but Israeli military forces have stepped up their activity. They say they are targeting several Hamas battalions still holed up there.
Israeli Apache helicopters en route to Gaza. Smoke rises overhead as some of the most intense fighting in weeks rages between Hamas militants and the Israeli Defense Forces. The IDF says it currently has 3 divisions deployed across the Gaza Strip.
In the south of Gaza, forces from the 162nd Division continue operations against terrorist targets and Hamas hotspots in the Rafah area. Since the beginning of the operation, our forces have eliminated about 100 terrorists.
As the intensity of fighting increases, the death toll has skyrocketed as well. According to Hamas-led health officials in Gaza, Tuesday was one of the deadliest days in weeks. They say more than 35,000 Palestinians have been killed since the beginning of the war. Israel's offensive in and around Rafah has forced hundreds of thousands of Palestinians to flee and continues to draw stark criticism from the international community.
The Secretary General is appalled by the escalation of military activity in and around Rafah by the Israeli Defense Forces. These developments are further impeding humanitarian access and worsening an already dire situation.
At the same time, Hamas militants continue to fire rockets into Israel. The group, which has been declared a terrorist organization by the US and EU, has published propaganda videos of insurgents attacking Israeli forces from hidden positions and escaping back into tunnels. As the fighting continues, the key border crossing in Rafah remains shut, preventing vital aid deliveries entering Gaza.
As it relates to aid that has been flowing this week, we've seen 50 trucks enter Gaza on May 12th. This is not nearly enough. More needs to be done, and it's another example of why the Rafah border crossing needs to be open so we can see further sustained humanitarian aid flow into Gaza.
According to the United Nations, over 1 million Palestinians face catastrophic levels of hunger and are on the brink of starvation.
Let's get more of the story now from our correspondent, Tanya Kramer. She joins us from Jerusalem. Tanya, what's the latest on Israel's military operations in Gaza? How far have its forces advanced into Rafah?
Well, what we're hearing from eyewitnesses there in Rafah, from residents in the area, saying they're seeing tanks going deeper into the eastern neighborhoods towards the center of Rafah, and there's heavy air bombardment as well and intense fighting. Now, the army has said last night that they are actually targeting northern, central and southern Gaza simultaneously from the air, land and sea. So that gives you a description how intense the fighting is. And there's also Hamas putting out that they are fighting especially in the north, and we've also seen more rocket fire coming out from Gaza in recent days. Now, the military had ordered people in the south from the eastern neighborhoods of Rafah in the past week or so to leave the area. We understand that over 450,000, but of course this number is rather fluid and it's an estimate by UN agencies, are on the move. But we are also hearing from people in the north. They also have been asked in other neighborhoods now to evacuate. They are also on the move, but some say they're trapped because heavy fighting is going on. And of course, the situation there is very critical. Many of them don't have transport. It's very difficult to move when bombardment is going on. And of course, all of this is happening today. Palestinians are commemorating Nakba Day. It's a national commemoration of the loss of their homeland and the displacement they experienced over 75 years ago during the Arab-Israeli War in 1948. That's very much in the collective memory, and of course many are reminded when they see those pictures of displacement today in Gaza.
Now, the UN and the U.S., Tanya, are pressuring Israel to reopen the Rafah border crossing for aid deliveries. By all accounts, the humanitarian situation in Gaza is catastrophic. What are the Israelis saying about this?
Well, we heard or saw basically a very public spat developing last night when the Israeli Foreign Minister Israel Katz posted a statement saying that Egypt must be persuaded to reopen the Rafah border crossing to allow humanitarian aid in, also saying the key to prevent a humanitarian crisis now in the hands of Egypt. And that prompted a very angry response by the Egyptian Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry, saying that it is actually Israel that captured the Palestinian side of the crossing ever since it has been closed, and that it's that and its military operations around that crossing in southern Rafah that is preventing any aid from coming in. That's another signal of the chill in the relations of these two countries in recent days since the Israeli military took over the Palestinian side of the crossing last Tuesday. Now, what does it mean for aid organizations? Now, the Rafah crossing remains closed. This was the crossing where mainly personnel got in, like humanitarian workers, but also Palestinians, some of them going out, also patients, also in a limited number, but of course also the aid that comes in via trucks, and that has not been happening. We understand Kerem Shalom, Israel had said it opened it, but aid agencies are saying they cannot reach it. It's the access, because heavy fighting is there. It's unsafe. There's some aid came in through the Erez crossing that is in the north of the Gaza Strip, but as we heard, this is by way not enough. And of course, that is very difficult now with more injured people and medical staff. They're saying, they don't get the supplies to treat them.
Tanya, thank you very much. That was our correspondent, Tanya Kramer, in Jerusalem.